Lithium is a big issue here in Nevada. We mine it. However, the question for you is regarding from an environmental side, is lithium a sustainable source long-term to our solution to replace fossil fuels with lithium? Is that a sustainable plan? How much do we have? How long do we have of lithium to replace gas and put them in electric cars and other devices? How much lithium do we have to sustain that?
Well, honestly, I do not know the amount of lithium that we have in Nevada. I don't know all the details on how the mining of the lithium happens. I'm not going to stand here and tell you I know that.
You should know all the details of how lithium is mined because it is just as harmful for the environment as fossil fuels, if not more. And to add to that, there is not enough lithium to transfer everybody into an electric car and to sustain your proposition. And if you are not knowledgeable on that instance, you should not have something to say about it. As somebody running for lieutenant governor of my state, I want them to be knowledgeable of these topics, and I want them to know what they're talking about when they propose these situations.
Do you realize that if everybody in Los Angeles had an electric car, that there is no infrastructure to charge the cars? It's not there. It doesn't exist. So if everybody in Los Angeles, just the Los Angeles area, had an electric car, it would overload PG&E, and there's no transformers, wires, power supply enough to even charge the cars.
I see your point, and you bring up a valid point.
Rob Lauer. So as the president of the Senate, you may have to be deciding vote on critical issues and on legislation. So I'd like to ask whether you support biological boys and girls sports, and should that be allowed or banned in the state of Nevada?
Your question is very good, and I'm glad you asked. My answer would be yes, and this is the reason why. I wasn't going to say this today, but now that the subject kind of gone this way, I'm a transgender woman, been so for 3 years, perfectly happy. Everything is legal. I'm now a real woman. Surgeries, everything. Now I know some people say, oh, that's a taboo subject. But to go back to your question, yes. Because every child should be who they are. Whether you like it or not everybody is from the same cookie cutter. And there are some kids out there, whether they're a boy or a girl, they may not be athletically inclined as others who participate in their sport, but they should be able to do so.
Regardless of whether they transition or not, if they're born a biological male, should they be able to compete in sports with women that are biological women?
So you say yes. Okay, fair enough. Mr. Anthony?
Well, first of all, I'm a constitutional conservative, so those are going to be my guiding principles. You can look up my record on the 12 years on Las Vegas City Council. I am a constitutional conservative, and to specifically answer your question, yes, I would support a ban of men participating in women's sports and the other way around. Absolutely. That's not fair. It doesn't make sense to me. So I would absolutely support legislation that would do away with that.
You know, I really have a problem with them asking 4-year-olds whether you want to be a boy or a girl. Guys with the hardware going into the women's locker room. The guys with the hardware winning the swim meets against the girls. I got a problem with that. Now, if you're willing to cut everything off and become biologically, you know, I suppose, God bless you, have fun. But generally, I'm against men who are born male competing against women in sports. But like I say, if you're going to castrate yourself and change yourself physically into a woman and take the hormones, it's a hard one to say no to. It's almost like, here's your reward, go run your race, you know?
This is directed to Ms. This is directed to Ms. Chase. I want to understand your reasoning behind your decision, because as an athlete, I was an athlete all throughout my school, from knee high to whatever. I've always been playing sports. So I want to understand where you're coming from in how you believe that it's fair and how you think that you don't have an advantage over me with testosterone in your body and being physically bigger and more built for a competitive sport.
I like your questions, very direct. Thank you. Now, when I was a man, I ran 7 marathons. I ran a Goofy down at Disneyland, or Disney World, 39.3 miles in 2 days. I was running with women. A lot of women beat me. I finished, I got my medal, but now that I'm a woman, I believe because of my testosterone level being dramatically dropped to women's levels and my estrogen level being higher as a normal woman, I would not have a competitive advantage over you.
In schools, though, at the level of puberty, those children for sure have an advantage over me, and especially because they're at the height of and peak of their testosterone levels in their life. And that's not to say that there aren't, if I were to swim against Michael Phelps or Katie Ledecky, she's for sure going to beat me because she is a well-trained athlete. That is not to say that you wouldn't have an advantage over somebody who doesn't if you weren't competing as fairly in the race of somebody amongst your own gender.
I believe that biological changes in a body, whether it's a boy or a girl at age 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, everyone is going to be a bit different. And there are some girls out there that are a whole lot better athletes than some guys. Even though the male may have more testosterone in their body, they may be conceived to have a advantage. They really don't. I'm just saying, it's not about winning or losing. It's about everybody getting a chance to be who they are and to be a chance to compete in a sport they love.
You mean to tell me that the individual that lost was 443rd?
43rd as a man,
in
yes.
their male race and is now at the top of the women's category does not have an advantage. Is that what I'm hearing correctly?
I am saying I don't know all the biological information of this particular person. Maybe, just maybe, they didn't go through a normal transition of taking hormones and estrogen reducers. Now, in that situation, no.
But in schools, children are not going to be taking the proper procedures to be going through this entire process the proper way. So therefore, what you said earlier, you just contradicted yourself. That's incorrect.
I'm saying that everyone should have a chance to compete.
No.
But in the case of the person you're talking about, that person squarely has an advantage. It's a case-by-case situation. And I just know from my personal situation, if I tried to go out and run a marathon today, which I couldn't, I only ride the exercise bike now, but if I could, no matter what condition, what have I done to my body, I'm still going to be getting beaten by women who run faster than I am. They're taller than me. They have longer legs, and they're more experienced runners.